The hole yawns wide and deep, top reaching almost halfway up the mound. Sergeant Brown and the four men compressing second squad cautiously move forward in the formation. Still sulking, Tahari joins me a little ways behind them, while Sergeant Troy and First Squad bring up the rear. The rain has continued to fall, and uncharacteristically shows no signs of stopping. If it keeps up like this, we might have issues getting the trucks out of the sand and back onto the road. Well, on the bright side, I'll have more to worry about washouts if I were to get out of this cave alive. About 10 feet from the entrance from when it was familiar, unmistakable odor hits me. The cave smells of death. Walking through the entryway, the stagnant air intensifies the stench, wielding it like a weapon. Ahead I saw someone in second squad reg. The hole itself is actually more symmetrical tunnel, about 15 feet high and 10 feet wide. Pushing it forward, the first thing I noticed, other than the sickening smell, it was that the walls are smooth and unnatural. For about 25 feet in the entire expanse from the floor ceiling to its covered with its strange cave art. Fantastic symbols that bear a passing resemblance to that of an ancient Syrian writings. I came across during my studies in college. One small section of tunnel roof appears to have collapsed, disrupting the otherwise unbroken pattern of art. Whatever ink might have been used to transcribe the symbols glows in with a faint luminance, giving that passage a disconcertingly eerie feeling. The tunnel seems to have been stopping gradually downwards. Rather than simply leading into the hill, the hole burrows into the ground itself. How deep can I only guess? I only see movement ahead as a specialist Barnes from the second squad jogs up to me. The kid looks scared. Sir, Sergeant Brown says that you have to come and take a look at what he's up there. Okay, what is it? He said not to tell you. It's something that you've got to see for yourself. Why didn't he call me on the radio? Tried, sir. Radio's out. I keep my hand on the mic and fluently trying to reach the trucks just 50 yards from behind me. Damn it, must have been something in these walls screwing with the big signal. Barnes, keep me going back, Sergeant Troy, and tell him to send a couple of guys to the trucks. Know that they won't be able to talk to us while we're down there. Then meet up with Sergeant Brown. Come on, Tahari. Let's go see what all the fuss is about. The Shawa leader sighs resentfully. I think you have a pretty good idea what it is, Muslim Michael goes, as I have already told you. We continued forward, another 50 yards before I reached the second squad and discovered the source of the smell. Dozens of bodies cover the floor of the cave, torsos ripped open and limbs strewn over into a mess of gore. The blood has dried and is based on the smell of the remains that hadn't been there for long. All of the corpses exhibited wounds that appeared to have caused by something incredibly sharp. Holding my breath against the stench, I leaned down to take a closer look at one of the corpses. The body is headless and missing its right arm on the shoulder, where it's messily torn off. The shredded remains of the clothing left on the body suggest it's local. Its stomach had been ripped open, and huge chunks of the guts seem to be missing, almost as if something has been eaten it. A sharp thrill of fear shoots down my spine as I step back from the thing that used to be a human body. Tahari, you son of a bitch! I'm starting to think that you may have been telling the truth. I look around until I find Sergeant Brown, who is beacons about me from where the stands a little ways further down the tunnel. As I approach him, there was a look of silent rage etched across his face. One arm I stretched to pointing the pile of human bones, completely picked clean off of flesh and tissue. They are very small. I felt my heart break. Led by Specialist Barnes, Sergeant Troy comes hustling up to the rear. He takes in on the scene before turning to me, holding out a remote clacker. Barnes filled me in. I took the liberty of preparing the tunnel entrance with C4 before coming down here. I highly recommend we draw back to the trucks and sell whatever the hell we are at to rot. Numbly, I took the trigger for him. There might be more kids down there, Sergeant. Sir, Troy's voice cracks. You know there's not. I think for a long moment. The gibbering caveman part of my brain cell tells me that there's nothing more than it wants to do to leave this hole behind and escape back to the relative sanity of the patrol base. But the rational part, the one I've spent years training, perform under incredibly stressful situations, disagrees. What Sergeant Troy says is probably true. The odds of there being any live kids down there is almost zero. But then on the other hand, there's no telling where this tunnel goes, or if there's an exit to this creature could use to escape. If we destroy the entrance we came through, if that's the case, there will be nothing to stop it from killing again. Nothing to stop it from feeding. There's only one way to make sure that these bones will be the last. Sorry, Troy. We'll seal the entrance as a last resort, but we have to make sure that we stop this son of a bitch for good. And my estimation, this is the best way to do is to shoot that thing until there's too many pieces for it to be a threat. We keep going. I pause and turn to Shawabi leader. Tahari, I'm sorry for doubting you earlier, but it looks like you're being honest with me. It doesn't seem right to drag a civilian any further into this mess. You are free to leave. I can't spare an escort, but you are welcome to keep the goggles on your way out if you promise to pass them to my driver once you reach the trucks. The big man grips the shoulder, grave a look upon his face. You're a good man, Melissa Michael, and I think I am different in circumstances. Perhaps a good friend? I shall wait for you at the entrance. I will pray for if you ever Allah watches over the indefendable that he will do this night. Moving rapidly, he disappears towards the entryway. Looking after Tahari, Sergeant Brown hawks up the pilgrim and spits to the side. What a chicken. The casual bravado makes me smile. Agreed, but I'll do my best not to judge him too harshly until we find the thing that did this. Your squad did okay on staying the point? Sir, Brown's voice is as cold as ice. It may be my absolute pleasure. I've got a feeling that in this tunnel is going to start a hunt to Honeycomb. Use your gut pick to route, or follow the stench. Radios are worthless down there, so don't get ahead further than shouting distance. Tell the boys to stay sharp. Weapons free. If it moves, shoot it until it stops. No worries, sir. Let's go. Second. He then turns to the squad and begins making its way deeper to the tunnel. Troy is left standing beside me. I'll keep the rear, but remember what we agreed to do. I remember, Sergeant. Keep them alert and mark the way back to the entrance with IR chem lights. If this hole starts to branch off, then I don't want to get lost down there. And I really don't want this thing sneaking up behind us. Follow close behind the second squad. Just as I suspected, the tunnel soon begins to break off into multiple forks. Sometimes as if there was 3 or 4 paths in an intersection. The darkness is now absolute. The strange glowing markings over the entrance of the cave, distant memory. I reach up and the key of the IR flood on the side of my goggles, watching the expanse of the tunnel and the beam of invisible light to keep my goggles more effective. As we moved ever deeper into the abyss, I became sharply aware of the crushing weight of the earth around me. I'm not claustrophobic, but stay down there, I might as well be. We traveled for what seemed to be like hours, but checking my watch, it is only about 15 minutes. Brown seems to have picked up the route at the random. Right, left, second, from left. I tried to keep on track, but after 7 or 8 turns, I know it will be impossible to remember them all. Doing some quick mental calculations, I realize if this goes on any much longer, we will have to stop and cross-load chem lights back on, with first to mark the route, or they will be running out. I cursed inwardly. It would have been made more sense to lead the element to mark the path. But I hadn't been thinking about that all the time, and now I have hope that Troy keeps close, or we'll risk losing him and the rest of the first squad at that thing of these intersections. I pick up the pace and try to find Sergeant Brown in order to consolidate and recognize that when the latest tunnel abruptly opens to a large subterranean cavern. I have no idea how the geometry of this tunnel system works, because while it has seemed that we've been going far down, the height of the stalactite pepped through the ceiling, almost as if the darkness above my head suggests we have descended at least 100 feet. Brown and second squad have dropped ahead, and at the foot of the wide pool that dominates the cavern, reaching as far as I can see either direction. Despite the size of the cavern, the air is closed and thick, smelling of rot. I look behind me and confirm my fear. Troy and my first are nowhere to be seen. I think this is as far as we go down here, sir, lest you brought a canoe with you. Q, I forgot something, Sergeant Brown said. We have to go back anyhow. It looks like we lost our first somewhere along the way. Are you kidding me? How the ever hell did they say? Sergeant Barnes is shouting. There's something in the water! Brown and I turned simultaneously in time to see a small wave ripple across the pool as something huge moves below the surface. There's a brief pause, and where all the time and motion seem to stop before the water explodes, and a human roar echoing throughout the cavern.